Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's kickoff of the Climate for Action Challenge 2021. Although we're physically distanced, I would still like to kick off today's forum by acknowledging that the land upon which we gather, or at least the land that I'm standing on, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. My name is Jay, and I'm honored to be here today as the Master of Ceremonies. For some context, I have a keen interest in addressing climate change for a very simple reason. I live on this planet and I'd like for it to remain habitable. Now, my role today is pretty straightforward. I'm going to keep the day moving forward and I'll be introducing each speaker in session. So you'll be seeing me many times today, but always very briefly. I tend to keep my introductions of the speakers very short, and you can find their full biographies on the conference webpage, and I encourage you to check them out. Their collective backgrounds, experiences, positions, accomplishments, they're incredible and they're inspirational. And to all the speakers, I will apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. Today, we're going to have a mix of live speakers and panels, as well as some pre-recorded sessions. For the live sessions, you'll be able to put some questions in the Zoom chat, and we'll try to address them at the end of the speaker session if time permits. And just before we get going, I'd like to give a special thanks to Convergence.tech and Trybe.ID for putting all this together. Now today, we're very pleased to be able to interact with a truly global set of presenters, panelists, and audience. You know, climate change is the defining challenge of our era and for this generation, and it is by definition a global challenge. It's a challenge that needs to be analyzed and addressed from multiple perspectives and via multiple approaches. As such, today's agenda and the topics are appropriately wide-ranging. Today's speakers will introduce topics and lay out their views with the intention of providing you with context on some key issues impacting climate change. So absorb them, question them, and build on them, but don't let that restrain your curiosity, creativity, and ultimately the problems you choose to solve as teams. As we like to say, go forth and innovate. So let's do this. To get the day rolling, I'd like to bring out our host, Chami Akmeemana, digital nomad and the CEO of Convergence and Trybe. Chami?
Thanks, Jay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Chami Akmeemana, and I want to welcome you to the kickoff to the Challenge for Climate Action. A big welcome to the students, educators, and climate experts around the world that will be taking part in this exciting competition. Once a year, we run a challenge to address topics that affect our students. The first couple of years, we focused on child mental health. Our digital inclusion challenge last year was a huge success, and we had over 1,000 students from 30 countries. This year, we have 200 teams from 58 countries, and it's great to see it's dominated by females. This is, I believe, one of the first. We have 54% female participation, 45% male, and 1% non-binary. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has dominated our lives for the last year or so, we absolutely cannot afford to ignore the global climate emergency. In November this year, world leaders will gather at the United Nations Climate Change Conference of Parties, or COP26 as it's known, to review progress on commitments to address climate change and to make recommendations for the future. While this initiative is absolutely necessary and commendable, citizen and student action is absolutely essential now more than ever. And in fact, Convergence as a company has prioritized this issue and has a team focused on innovation addressing climate change. We're committed to doing our part, but believe the creativity and inspiration of youth play a huge role. And as such, we're dedicating this year's challenge to not only building awareness, but to also encourage climate action. Our hope is that our platform, collective insights, and efforts will give voice to new ideas and possibilities, and also create the next generation of leaders that are capable of guiding us down a more positive and sustainable climate path. Today, we are honored to have an esteemed lineup of speakers to share their unique insights into environment and climate-related problems. Each of the speakers are encouraged to give the audience an action point to implement on your own or as a group to minimize your carbon footprint. I would like to challenge every single one of you in the audience to make a couple of small changes in your life between now and the end of the competition, which is the 27th of March. And hopefully you can carry these forward permanently. From a personal perspective, I've committed to Project 333 8 years ago in order to be more with less. It essentially involves the theory of minimalism, ensuring you dress with only 33 items or less for about 3 months. Today, I own 53 items of clothing and have a very small carbon footprint. So for just 1 month, could every single one of you attempt a life of minimalism, relying on perhaps, say, 30 or 40 pieces of clothing? I mean, we're all locked down with nowhere to go, so I'm sure this is fairly easily achievable. But what else can we do? Can we eliminate single-use plastic for just 1 month? Did you also know that if we eliminate food waste completely, we could cut down greenhouse gas emissions by 8%? So how about we attempt to cut down our food waste, maybe cut down our shower times by 2 minutes? And if for some reason you're unable to take on the challenge, how about you maybe keep track of your waste and maybe your carbon footprint? Please do challenge yourself for the next month. It's just 30 odd days. And if you want to blog about your experience or do a video diary, we would love to collate all your stories and share that at the challenge finale. I'm actually asking this of everyone in the audience, not just the students. So please help us set an example of what is possible. And remember, sustainability is a mindset.